got the seals in the mail today. These said on eBay, they said that they were good for Ford, Dodge, Chevy. So apparently, I really do think these Hydroboost devices are really very similar, or if not the same, across many makes and models. So here's this kit. It comes with like five different seals, but we're only going to be using two. I think the other ones go. I think the other ones are from different models. But anyway, we have what we need, so we'll get started here, and I'll try to show you this as best I can. First thing we're going to do is inside of this, where the piston goes, that groove or that seal sits down in there, and I just want to really make sure that that's clean. So we're going to take some brake cleaner, spray it down in there, and then I have this. If you're working on a Mustang, the smaller one that comes in this kit looks like the right one. This one's a little too big, so we'll put the smaller one in. I'm just gonna grab some brake fluid, or some power steering fluid, and kind of lubricate this seal here. Put this down in there with the groove facing towards us. Alright, I got it in there. One thing I would recommend is just once you get it in, kind of run your finger around it a couple times, and then as I look in there, the small part of that seal that you can see all the way around the hole is pretty consistent, the amount that you can see sticking out there. So definitely make sure of that. Next thing we can do here is take off the kind of figure 8 seal. That's around this part here, right there. So we'll grab that out of there. Sits in there okay. It's got a little bit of wiggle room, which concerns me a little bit, but I guess we'll try it out. So yeah, the most important thing, we're going to put this back together. This part right here, you can see that groove I mentioned in the previous video. That needs to, these two little pins on this need to fit around, or sit in that groove there. So it's going to be a little bit tricky. Got to do all this together. So first thing, make sure the spring's in here, and then make sure that's in the hole correctly. And this is not going to be easy to see. Okay, well, it took a little work, but I think we're golden. At least I hope so, because I really don't want to take that off again. So once you get that to go on down, Once I got everything lined up, it seemed like I had to kind of push pretty hard because I think because of the spring and everything, it just didn't want to. Oh, and the new gasket too. I think that piston just didn't really want to go through that new gasket as much because it was because it's new and probably tighter on it and stuff. So that's good. And then we'll look over here. We got our rod coming through. That's what pushes on the master cylinder. So yeah, I mean, biggest thing after you get that all put back together, I would go ahead and make sure to get a couple of these Torx bolts started pretty well with your hands, and then I just did one on each side so that it'll kind of hold itself together, and hopefully that'll be alright. Okay, so yeah, those went in alright, and so I'm just going to continue putting the rest of these back in there. If you push on this, obviously that's kind of similar to the act of push on your brake, and it seems to be sliding fairly well in there, so I guess that's a good sign to start with, but I really don't know of any way to test this to make sure you got it right, and so I guess we'll just hope for the best. Man, that would suck to get this all back together and then have to take it off again. Ugh. I don't even want to think about it. Okay guys, so I tighten those up as well as I can. I'm gonna have two of these. There's two underneath here. Once I get it on the vehicle, kind of in reverse of what we did the first time, I'm gonna have to get my extension and everything, get in here and tighten those two up from above. They're not gonna be able to see them, but hopefully we'll get those. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know. We're gonna throw it back on the car. Just reverse everything we did to get it off, and oh Jesus, hope for the best. Alright guys, this is just like the least fun work I've ever done on a car. I don't know, maybe it's getting old, maybe it's just that this actually sucks, because I'm pretty sure that's the case, but anyway, there's really a certain order you have to do this in order for it to end up correctly. So first of all, we put the booster in, and it's got that kind of pin part that just goes through the firewall that's not threaded on the other side. So that goes in. You put that bottom bolt on to the booster itself. That holds it in place really well. Then you can tighten up those Torx bits. Then you will want to loosen, or then you'll want to take that bolt off down there, or that nut off of there, so that the booster is kind of free. Then you want to slide the master cylinder on these two slots and make sure the shaft from the booster goes in there properly and everything. Then put your brake lines on, and then tighten down the two nuts that go from that connect the master cylinder to the booster. Now I'm gonna go inside and Oh yeah, of course, connect your power steering lines and all that other stuff to the booster afterwards, and your electrical to the master cylinder. I'm gonna go inside the car and tighten down the rest of those uh, nuts that go on there. Might just actually do one if I can connect the pedal and the electrical and stuff okay without doing the rest, because if there is a problem, then it'll be a lot easier to take it off and deal with that. But if there is a problem, honestly, I might just have it towed to the shop. I don't know. Anyway, hopefully that doesn't happen. We'll see in a bit. Alright guys, so the worst thing, not the worst I guess, but something that was very unfortunate is I cross-threaded the brake line that goes into the master cylinder. I actually think I might have done it while taking it off. I suspected it, then found out for sure once I put it back on. So I was able to find this short 8-inch brake line that's pre-made and double flared and everything for like $5 at O'Reilly's. So we're gonna just try this one out. That brake line here it looks like it's about the same length, maybe even shorter. So and they claim that yeah, it looks like it's about the same. They claim that you don't even have to need a bender, that you can just kind of take care of it yourself. So we're just going to give it a shot and see if we can get this working here. Alright guys, sorry I didn't show you more about that brake line installation, but hopefully you won't have to go that far. Luckily the master cylinder for this car is only $100, so that helped a little bit. But with the brake line, I would probably go, I don't think you can get a 10-inch, I would probably go with a 12-inch. Just the 8-inch was a little bit short. 12 inches is probably a little longer than the one that's on there, but it really doesn't matter. There's enough room. You bend it kind of in the same way that the current one is, or that the factory one is, and and it did bend really easily with just doing it by hand, so shouldn't be a problem. I did have to leave a little bit of play in the master cylinder in order to get it at the right angle. If you look at that, you'll see it's the part where that line screws in is kind of angled. It's really weird. I didn't like it at all, but anyway, finally got it done. After getting everything tightened up, I did have to, you want to bleed the brakes first. If you did open the system at all. If you didn't take off the master cylinder or anything like that, you really don't have to, but I didn't see a way to get that off without removing the master cylinder. So take that as you will. So yeah, bled the brakes first. You probably know how to do that if you've made it this far. Then bled the power steering. If you have watched any other videos, you probably know this, but the proper way to do that is jack up the front of the car. It's a lengthy, boring process. You will want to leave the cap off of the power steering reservoir, fill it up so that it's at the full line at least. Then it's a process, so one cycle is turning your wheel all the way to the left, all the way to the right, all the way to the left, all the way to the right. So you go back and forth 5 full times, then you push on your brake 3 times. And that is one cycle. Recommended that you do it at least 50 times before you turn on the vehicle. And even then you might not be fully done yet, so I had to shut off the vehicle and turn it back on several times to test and see. when you rotate your wheel after doing all this, you'll know if you've got air in the system still by the whine from the power steering pump. So I would recommend just keep going. When you are doing that bleed process, what I found helped is, you don't want to crank it real hard, but if you hold your steering wheel all the way to one side here and there, I got some good burps out of it that way. And then, the whole time just make sure that your reservoir stays full enough. What I did is I have a cheap security camera. I'll show you here. It's just a Wise camera. I think these things are like 20 bucks. I didn't have anybody to help me, and like I said, it's pretty lengthy, so I just kind of set that up and aimed it at the reservoir with some light on it, and just kept an eye on it while I went through the process. I did find that you can't really get all the air out of the system that way without actually driving. So once I felt comfortable with the brakes and the power steering, I went ahead and took it for a drive around the neighborhood. Seemed like that helped. I heard some people say that it helps if you make sure your traction control is on if you have it, or otherwise if you don't, just you'll want to kind of drive at a decent speed so that you can slam on your brakes and cause the analog brakes to kick in. That certainly helped to get the rest of that out. And then, yeah, got everything tested out. Anyway, I've gone for a couple drives now, and totally dry underneath the car, so I'm very happy about that. And I don't know, I guess that concludes this. If you have any questions, post them. I'll get back to you quickly and reply to each one of you. Give me a like, give me a follow. There's a lot of different DIY things I do around here, so videos might not always be about cars, just regular homeowner stuff. Just anything that I come across that seems like it might be helpful to other people, I'll go ahead and post it. But until then, we'll talk to you later.